So he went down.
Yeah, I told you he turned it. So I had to see. Remember, I'd been in love with him probably since I was 18 years old. And so I saw him kill himself. And that's an area I have to this day in 10 years have not gone to. I can't go there. Every time I think about it, I just quit. It was that in itself, to see someone take their life, well, it's horrible.
Even someone who had been so horrible to you.
Oh, it just...
To see that moment.
Yeah. And so he went down, and I was still standing up, and I was starting to panic, and somehow his body got in front of me between the bed. Now the room during the shooting got dark, and it was kind of fluttering. I don't know if it was spiritual warfare but I didn't fall down. And I mean, I've never seen anybody get shot before, but I have on TV, since I was a kid, westerns and stuff, and they always fall down.
Right.
I don't know. I didn't fall down, and a voice spoke to me. Now, this happened in minutes, okay? Just in a couple of minutes, this shooting went down. And a voice spoke to me and called me by my name. And I was screaming out. And the voice said, "Jayme, shut up and go lay down." So I stepped over his body and I grabbed the gun because I didn't know he was dead. And I was worried about Maggie and James. So I put the gun under my rear. And don't ask me how I got over there. 3 bullet wounds.
I don't know how.
Gunshot wounds.
Because you were blown open, basically.
Well, they were. I was bleeding profusely from the 2 to my stomach. But now this one up here, I just remember looking down, and this just happened in a few minutes.
Right.
So I went and laid on the bed with the gun under me. James, at this point, they had called 911, and the James, it took them forever to get there. The police came first, and but before James got in there, I was crying out for Jesus, and I asked him to forgive me from all my sins. Even though I had become a Christian 15 months before that, and then after I got, I was on the bed, and I was just screaming out to Jesus for forgiveness, and I told him I loved him. And
did you think you were dying? Did you think that was it?
Yeah, I was going out. I was getting kind of like maybe getting ready to go into shock, or I don't know. I was getting weak, and I was extremely scared, but I was very aware of everything going on, and the fluttering. The room was fluttering, just for those few seconds, just for those few minutes during it, and a voice spoke to me again, called me by my name again, and said, "Jayme, you're not gonna die." And then at that second, James comes back in the room and he starts comforting me. He didn't know what to do. And he told me he loved me, and I told him, I loved James, and that, and then the police came in. Of course, they took him and was kind of,
roughed him up.
They thought he was involved, and I told them he was my boyfriend. I had him there to, even though at this point I wasn't screaming out in agony yet. Told him he was there he didn't do anything. It's my boyfriend. He was there to protect me. But he did. He got Maggie out and himself out. And then the ambulance came in. I remember them taking me down the hallway of that house and out the front door. There were all kinds of OCPD and Nichols Hills police around. James was in the police car, and he remembered that he said your head wasn't covered up, so he knew that
You were alive.
because when Bill came out, his head was covered up, and so he knew, and he started praying. And on the way to OU Medical, I went through Britain, and
Britain Road.
Britain Road train tracks. Everybody know Northwest Oklahoma City knows about the Britain train. We caught it. The minute the arm came down, we caught it. And we sat there. I've met the EMT that rode with me since then. He could tell us. We sat there for quite a while. The pain was excruciating. It was, you know how the doctor rates you 1 to 10 on pain? It was past 10. And I remember the girl and the driver in the front seat. I mean, that ambulance was rocking and rolling, and there was a firefighter. He wanted to ride with us, and he sat over there, and I remember then the train went up, and she just tore off, and we went all the way down Broadway Extension from Britain to downtown Oklahoma City. That's quite a ways. And I just can't tell you the pain in my chest. And I was awake until they masked me on the operating table. I remember the nurses came running out to the ambulance. I remember them opening the back. The nurses were there. I remember being rushed through the halls of OU Medical, and then we landed in the operating room, and all I remember seeing masked people. There were several.
Was your vision clear? Was it foggy? It
was foggy, but
okay.
I
But you could identify.
I could identify male nurse, female nurses coming out. I could identify male eyes with the mask, and they said something to me. And to this day, I wish I knew. I met the surgeon that operated on me, of course, after I came out of my coma. He was Dr. K. He had this big long name. I think he was from another country. He was really cool. And anyway, so he said something to me and then I didn't wake it up for 45. I was in a coma for 45 days. And that's another story. Yeah. I was in a deep, in one of those coma-induced things. And my dad, who's just an old, just a salt of the earth Okie, said that it took even the RNs were having to use books to run the life-saving equipment on me. That I hung on the side of a striker bed for days, so that I wouldn't get pneumonia, which I did get pneumonia. I almost died, and I almost died of congestive heart failure. Not only am I gutted from here to here, they had to cut me from here to here. Anybody that has congestive heart failure knows that I was like 3 minutes away from death. In fact, the heart doctor from OU he left it was at 3 o'clock in the morning. I started going into congestive heart failure. And the heart doctor had left OU Medical, and he was down on Lincoln Avenue, and they called him and said, Jayme Daniel is going, she's dying. And he crossed over the median, which is the median, he didn't wait, he crossed over the median, and he came back to OU and opened me up right here and saved my life. So after I got shot, I had 2 close calls to death. So anyway, I was in a coma for 45 days, and they drew me out of the coma, and then I went to a rehab, and then I was released with a wound vac. The hole in my chest was this big.
How big? Wow.
Big. And
did it kind of Okay,
It's
explain.
like a missile went through me. Well, because they had to gut me. I know that sounds crude, but it is what it is. They had to gut me to go chase those bullets.